Welcome to Montana's Commercial Real Estate Podcast. I'm Julian.Scurci here with my colleague Daniel.Miller at SVN Purewest, Montana's only commercial real estate firm that possesses both local knowledge and a national network. We decided to build this podcast because we both believe there is a tremendous opportunity in Montana, and we're surprised that there was not a show that interviewed business leaders, policymakers, and regional experts. This show seeks to be an exploration of the state of Montana's real estate market, business environment, and serve as a learning opportunity for us, the guests, and the audience. Today, we are excited to chat with Devin Khoury, native Montanan, longtime Missoula resident, and managing director of SVN Purewest. On this episode, we discussed the state of real estate across Montana, what's changing, what still works, and where the biggest opportunities and challenges lie. From hospitality and multifamily, SVN's expansion, and Missoula's permitting headaches, Devin shares practical insights from decades of hands-on experience as a broker, investor, and operator. Devin, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You've specialized in hospitality and multifamily, but touched a lot of different products. Perhaps you can give us the audience a sense of your career as an investor or broker, and what excites you about real estate in Montana.
Yeah, sure. So started, I guess it's been about working on 25 years, not quite, but been in it a little while now. And got in with a real simple investment property and realized I kind of liked real estate. So ran with it, decided I wanted to be an owner. I didn't want to work for someone else. And so some business partners and I back in 2016 kind of formulated Purewest, and I've kind of expanded that. And really through randomness and transactions with clients is how I've kind of got into a few different areas of real estate. So I have property management and general contracting with my ownership stuff, but then got into hospitality, and I own and manage my own hotels around the state, and just got into storage facilities and multifamily and build apartments. And it all kind of stemmed from having clients that were doing it, and I was just trying to follow and emulate what they were doing, or came across a good deal and we couldn't get it sold, and I worked out creative financing or something else with clients, and just really enjoyed the day-to-day of it. I mean, so it doesn't feel like work, and it's just kind of taken me to a lot of different aspects of real estate, and that's kind of one of my bigger assets, and one things that I think I bring to the table as a buying and selling agent for my clients is that I've done a lot of things, maybe not on big scale, right? It's still what I do is pretty small scale, but if someone comes to me and wants to build, I've done it. If they want to do industrial or storage facilities or commercial warehouse, I've done that. I own and operate all my own stuff, which keeps me in the day-to-day of it, and it kind of allows me to walk the walk. So I feel like that's probably one of my bigger assets for my clients, and has definitely helped me in the 20-some years of real estate of figuring out mistakes and how to get around them and what the opportunities are, and kind of where to put capital to, keep building the portfolio.
Devin, you just mentioned about asset for your clients. You started Purewest back in 2016. You just brought Montana into the SVN network, which is huge. It's the fourth largest state in the nation, and now you brought that into the SVN network last year. And what's the biggest advantage that shift has given you and your clients?
Yeah, it's some national recognition, which is great for our clients and our listings and who we're trying to market to. And we have clients coming from these big, other primary markets into maybe our secondary or tertiary markets. It allows them a contact point, right? They can keep some synergy of where they've been, whether they're in Boston or whether they're in LA with SVN, and then they can come here and have the exact same model, the same ethics, the same ethos of the company. It's a really nice partnership. They fit in extremely well with what we have with Purewest and our Christie's International Real Estate on the residential side. So it's just kind of one more connection point, I would say, between our clients and what they're used to and what they expect. And being one of the top 10 U.S. brokerages for commercial real estate is nice. I mean, it's a kind of a win-win, right? We have them and they have us, because we have a 5-state area around us where there was no SVN presence. Really strong with the 2,000 agents and a couple hundred offices around the Banana Belt and the coast, but kind of inland was really missing. And so it's nice for us in the sense that hopefully that business will come our way as a reference point for those other agents, and it allows us to syndicate out to an in-house type of brokerage feel around the nation. So I think it's a win-win for for all of us as agents, as listing, as a company, for our clients that are coming here. So it's been really a great relationship.
Devin, I know you've lived in Missoula for quite a bit of time and you've done work around the state, but maybe we could talk a little bit about the Missoula market. I mean, what are you seeing on the ground right now that either excites you or that are perhaps challenges?
Yeah, the challenges jump out a little bit more right now. The market's softer, right? We still have sellers expecting cap rates of 2022, 2023, because that's still kind of a fresh taste in their mouth. And we have buyers that even if they want to, the banks aren't going to go for it. And the 1031 money has dried up probably by 80 or 90% of what it used to be. So there are some huge hurdles. It's still a good market. I mean, we're not seeing huge price reductions. We're still seeing products get sold. Just had a hospitality deal go under contract a couple of weeks ago. So you're still seeing money move. It's just nowhere at the rate it was 2.5 years ago. The challenges are like the bank wanting a lot of money down. They want their debt coverage ratios to be maybe higher than they used to, or even if they're the same at 1.1 to 1.3, the debt is so expensive when you're trying to get a 7.25% loan or a 7.5% commercial loan. The numbers are really hard to make work. And so then that creative financing component needs to maybe come in cases where a seller will hold some of that, carry some of the paper, get creative on things. But that's been the challenge, is that the delta between what a seller wants and a buyer thinks is right in the new market. And I think the buyer is probably more accurate on that than the seller. And then the fact that the banks are even more conservative than that buyer's attitude. So it's kind of like this step down in 2 or 3 basis points that is hard to make these deals work. Whereas 3 years ago, it didn't matter. I mean, at 4 and 5% interest rates, everything worked, whether it was a 3.5 cap or a 6 cap. It made sense. Like, you could make the numbers work. You're seeing that some of that debt now start to come back because it was on a 5-year or 3-year fix, and that's going to be an issue. We have, I think, some sellers that have come to the market now because of that, kind of that debt service component is coming up, and it could cause some issues. But we really haven't seen a big market shift. I mean, sellers are pretty much holding. I mean, they are negotiating more, but without the 1031 money and the pressure to get a deal done, it's slower for sure. But I think our clients understand that. I think everyone can feel and recognize that. It's still a little disappointing probably for sellers that aren't getting what they think they should have gotten had they listed 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Right. Julian touched on that you're native to Missoula and to Western Montana. What do you think the biggest challenge is the area needs to tackle to stay attractive to investors?
But yeah, Bozeman's doing a great job, and they're bringing in a lot of good business. A lot of money is coming in. As born and raised in Missoula, and my family here from a long time, there's not a lot of room to grow. Like our valley, so we have a supply and demand of just straight economics. So there's just not a lot of room. And most of it's taken up, which means that if you're trying to come in, you're really trying to retrofit. You really can't go ground up and customize it, make it efficient for your building costs and get exactly what you want. We just don't have that. We just don't have that option here, really. So there are just challenges. And then, permitting things take a long time. There's just a lot of things that could probably be smoother in this day and age that are still a little harder. The airport is a great addition. That's helping. But Bozeman has the airport. They have the businesses and they have the money, and they're central. It's a little bit easier to get in there than it is here. I think they're probably a little bit more business friendly. And then their university has really gone to the next level relative to where the University of Montana Missoula is at. So I think all that stuff has just kind of put us in second place lately, maybe the last 6, 7, 8 years. But it's easily rectifiable. It's just we need to make some changes. And I think a part of that is going to be getting the permitting costs down and getting that faster, because there's a cost, right? There's an opportunity cost to having to wait 6 months versus 2. There's risk, there's time, there's loss of revenue. So when these things take a long time to get a business going here, that's just one more thing that maybe stacks on to 5 or 6 other things that the client might not be happy with, and it forces them to go to Spokane or Boise or Bozeman or wherever they're going to go. And I know personally we've lost out on a few really nice, big companies that provide good jobs around here because they've gone to those other markets due to some of those reasons. And so it keeps Missoula the way it is, which is kind of cool in a way. Like, we are not Bozeman, and for the good and the bad. So I don't know. It's got pros and cons. When it comes to real estate and investing, the investing's been solid, but hard to make new growth happen here.
Following up on that question, Devin, are there certain public policy gaps or catalysts that you see as a Missoula resident and citizen that you think would be positive for business, or that you see the business community craving?
I think it's getting better coming out of COVID. I think things are getting a little better. I don't know if there's just one thing, but like these moratoriums and the zoning changes that have been held up, like things need to happen faster because there are projects on hold now. And again, those clients are not going to wait forever with the risk and the cost of doing nothing. They're going to go somewhere else. So I don't know if I definitely don't have a magic wand or know the answer, but it's just efficiencies and trying to drive those costs down with those efficiencies, which would speed up the time. I know that would just open up a lot of doors to new business.
Maybe along those lines, as someone who deals with a lot of business owners and is also a resident raising a family in Missoula, what do you think are the opportunities for certain kinds of businesses to either enhance the Missoula market, perhaps a gap of a certain industry that could be, could have a growth opportunity in Missoula?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's multifamily. No, I'm joking. It seems like everything's multifamily. Yeah, it's just hard to make things pencil, and people don't want to. There's a new breed of worker that values comfort, and which means that maybe it's a flex space. It's not coming into the office every day. Like that's still a real thing. I know a lot of companies have tried to get their employees back, but I've seen a lot of downsizing of people that say, okay, well, people still want to work, and you need that office environment, but they don't need the office space they used to. Maybe it's 50 or 70% of what they had because they still need a presence. They want brick and mortar, but they might have that portion of people that are only in every day because some people can work from home 1 or 2 days a week. And that's kind of a new normal, but that doesn't help growth because, we don't have a lot of Class A space. And so these nice new companies, if you're coming in, again, you're trying to retrofit or you're trying to downgrade into something that's already here. And so offices, I think a good investment if you got the right client, but I don't see that expansion happening. And you really can't convert office into multifamily like you see in some of these that just usually the floor plates don't work, the plans don't work, the plumbing, and just the infrastructure is not there to accommodate some type of conversion in most cases. So that's difficult. So yeah, it's hard. I mean, if we had maybe we don't really have a big presence of like a sports field in the sense of an indoor. If we had something there to attract the semi-pro, we're starting some soccer stuff, which would be good. But if we had some of that would bring more people in, convention, it's just hard to get people here in the winter, right? It's hard to fly in, it's expensive, and we're not central. So I think those are the challenges of Missoula, which will keep us, kind of limited in a big portion. So there are niches and things you can do along the way, but it is like building multifamily, building a small warehouse for your electricians and plumbers that maybe only need 2,000 to 4,000 square feet. They need tall ceilings, they need warehouse, they need flex space in an office reception area, but they just don't use it much, right? So I think you'll see that kind of go on its way out to the airport, and you're going to see some medical. I mean, I think we do have a really nice medical presence. So university and our medical fields could attract those nice jobs and expand the campuses. That would probably be the best way for the community, just to bring in jobs that can keep up with inflation and the cost of everything. But investment wise, it's kind of the tried and true right now. It's flex commercial space and multifamily, and maybe some residential development as the rates come down to do some build to suits. But it's a little difficult. You don't have a ton of opportunity like you might in other markets.
Going back to multifamily, are there any specific or local factors that are unique to the area that will make or break a deal?
I mean, land's expensive, so that's a negative that could break the deal. But permitting is getting better. I mean, I know I was just talking about it, but the cost is really expensive with the permitting to get it through and the time to get that done. And then just the right location on that multifamily has been probably a bigger issue in trying to do infill in the right way. building costs aren't too bad relative to, they've stabilized. You're seeing some contractors actually negotiate the price a little bit. Tariffs haven't had a big effect. They might on some things, I guess. Who knows? It could change any day. But so I don't know. That multifamily, it's pretty consistent, and there's a need for it. And with rates where they're at and home prices, more people are renting. So it fits pretty well if you have the capital to deploy. But it is, again, back to that bank scenario. If you're borrowing the money, it is hard to make these numbers pencil, mostly due to the debt service, because land values really haven't come down and building costs has stabilized, but they're not going to really come down. And permitting just keeps going up and takes a little longer. So there's really not much that's going to happen there, except rents are going to keep going up.
Just to make you feel better, my base operations is Southwest Florida, and permitting is the number one holdup down here too. So I feel it's nationwide. Anytime you're dealing with government services, it's a marathon.
Yep.
Devin, you also, I think, are unique in that you're a hospitality owner and operator, and I think that's an interesting part of real estate, particularly because Montana, gets so much inbound tourism, and it's such a big component of the economy as a state. What are you seeing right now as a hospitality operator that are you either find as the opportunities or the challenges?
Yeah, I love the sector. Like it's great. It's got its challenges. The financing is definitely an issue, but you touched on the point. We have pretty big mud seasons off of spring and winter, and if you're in the right location, the winter can be really strong. If you're if you have skiing, so either Kalispell markets, Whitefish, Bozeman, that area, Red Lodge and Billings. So it makes it a little easier when you have 2 seasons of something happening. Missoula is a little bit different, that we don't have really much traffic in the winter. So we've seen kind of compression. There's a lot of new inventory coming on. There have been some reductions, I guess, in hospitality on sales price to get deals done. That's probably the one thing we have seen, that people, for whatever reason, have been able to negotiate pretty good prices, and those cap rates have floated up to probably close to 10%, just depending on the asset and location. But I like it just in the sense that it diversifies. It's pretty strong in the summer. Like you can make it work. But there has been a bunch of inventory coming into Montana, and that has compressed the nightly rates. So you kind of deal with ADR, which is your daily rate, and then you deal with your RevPAR, which is your revenue per available room. And that RevPAR kind of brings in your ADR with your occupancy. And that's so it calculates how much you're making on each room every day, regardless if it's rented or not on average. And so I think we've seen RevPARs stable, slightly down. 23 was probably the best year. 24 was a little worse, and 25 is pretty much on par. So it's been okay, but costs go up there too, right? Taxes and cost of labor and the turnover. So the hurdles there is that you're also open 24/7, and so there's a lot more that goes into that versus apartments or something else that wouldn't have that grind every minute of every day of what could go wrong or right. But with Montana being such a nice and kind of on the map after COVID, the investments have gotten strong. Real estate's gone up. The rates have gone up. So it's expensive, which means that more people have brought their money into either fix up the existing properties or build the new ones. And so that's been the hardest thing on existing inventory, is new product coming in that is now competing at the same prices, which is kind of forcing the older properties or something that's not as good of a location or now has competition that didn't, to have to drop that price, and it kind of brings everyone down a little bit. And on the nicer hotels, the luxury, you're seeing that they're still getting their nightly rates, but their occupancy has dropped a little bit. So, and that's just a business decision. Do you fill more rooms at a lower rate, or do you hold a higher price and take less occupancy? And it probably kind of works out the same. You have a wear and tear and a labor cost to throw into that mix. But the economy, I think you're seeing the average budget traveler is probably getting a better deal right now because of those factors. And I think if you're luxury, you might be able to find some deals, but you're still paying a fair amount to stay at a nice hotel, and they're willing to hold that rate whether you stay or not.
Given how tiered the hospitality market is and also that there's segments that are boutique, independently operated hotels versus nationally flagged brands, do you think there are any gaps in the marketplace in Missoula or Montana, either from a pricing tier or perhaps a brand that would really resonate with travelers to Montana?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm sure there is, and there's plenty of people who know more than I do. So for what I know, we kind of have all the bases covered. I think you'll probably see more of the higher end luxury and mid scale versus the budget just doesn't make it's hard to come into a new market with budget. A lower a Motel 6 or an economy or an Arrow Inn or even a Days Inn. Like those are you have to do so much business to make those numbers work at the lower rates, and we just don't have that type of influx for tourism. So it's just a numbers game that I think those would be hard to see come to the market unless you already had the property or you already had a building you were going to reflag it as one of those. Like that would make sense. But I can't imagine someone buying dirt at the cost it is and then doing that, because it would just be way too hard to make a return feasible. So I think you're going to see mid-scale and economy, and mid-scale and luxury. And I think you're going to see in the next couple of years some of these brands probably getting renovated and moving up a class, because that travel, there's a lot of people with a lot of money, and it's discretionary. And I think they're going to be probably your most, I guess maybe your safest bet, that a lot of people with a lot of money still travel here. And I think they're willing to pay for that. So I think the economies and the lower tier hotels have the market covered fine here. There's plenty of that inventory, and it fits a need for sure. And then you have these other mid-scales and luxuries that will probably keep coming to the market just because, and I think that's going to keep pulling the market up, which benefits those lower hotels because they can kind of rise with that rising tide. But I think that's what you'll see. And I don't know if we're really missing anything. We have the extended stay might start competing slightly just against the multifamily, because that's the trend of Missoula is multifamily. And so that could definitely be a component you might see come in a little bit more, or conversions to extended stay type of hotel.
Interesting. Well, Devin, we don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do have a pressing question. Back in your heyday, you were able to don a very famous basketball jersey and play an exhibition game. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, my day as a Globetrotter. It was pretty fun. It was they came in as an exhibition. This is back when we were playing, and I was still in shape and could jump a little bit and that type of thing. So it was fun. But the uniform I had to take was, I'm 5'11" in my basketball shoes, right? And this guy, he was 6'8", 6'9", and so I had this double XL. I think it was a double XL. I mean, I don't know for sure, but all I know is the armpit went from basically down to my waistband, and so I had like 2 feet of jersey tucked into my shorts. I'm trying to play this exhibition, like the Globetrotters against. I can't remember if we played against the local firemen or the police department or something like that, but it was great. It was fun to be able to do the the pregame routine, and all that was really good time. It was fun. Had a little family in the stands for it, and had a good showing, so that was good. Made some shots, but yeah, all I remember is they called this guy Grasshopper because he could just jump through the roof, and he got sick, couldn't make it, or injured. I can't remember what the story was there, but I donned his uniform, and it was, I don't even know if you could see the numbers. Probably the jersey numbers were tucked into my waistband. Like it was such a big jersey. It was a little goofy, but I haven't thought about that in a little while. Thank you.
That's a great story. I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Devin, is for people who are traveling to Missoula for the first time, are there some things that are under the radar that you and your family enjoy as residents, whether they're businesses or attractions in the outdoors that you would really recommend people visiting that they don't know about?
I don't know I have a couple hidden gems that I'm going to keep to myself because I want them to stay hidden gems. But I think Missoula really is just, the vibe downtown is good. One thing touching to, not to jump back, but we could use a really good food scene. Like we have some restaurants that have come in, but I think that's one thing that we have restaurants come and go. It seems like for the town that we have, with the vibrance and the cultures that we have here and what the university brings in and why people come to Missoula, we should have this expansive food scene. And we really don't. Like being a local and like having to try to figure out where my family and I are eating all the time and where you're going on business meetings, it whittles down to like 4 or 5 every time. And a little disheartening. I mean, it seems like we should just have a lot more ethnicities represented in food, because you go to these other towns, that's probably one thing missing. Back to your other questions about what could come in. Obviously, there's a reason that I'm not in that space at all, so I have no idea the challenges. I can imagine them, but it must just be hard to keep your labor, and obviously the rent cost is tremendous. And if you're trying to do liquor, you have $1 million on that license, or you're leasing that with some type of revenue per sale. So like I could imagine the challenges, but it must not work and it must not be feasible. But I wish that we had someone that would come in with money to where, how much of a profit they made wasn't as important as just bringing it to town and having it be successful. So I think that's something we're missing. But yeah, I think people need to experience downtown a little bit. The shopping's great. We're starting to get some of that expansion down there. And then I think just it's the outdoors. I mean, anywhere you want to go, and that's going to be important to us. But there are trails everywhere. So whether you're hiking or biking or fishing, and that's what I always try to get my friends and clients to do when we come here, is just get out in the hills a little bit and take advantage of what it is. Because in 10 minutes you're out of downtown and you're on the river. Like it's not an effort. It's just I think that's something that people maybe don't expect or realize when they're coming in from another town that just doesn't have that. You might think it's this like, oh, do we have time to do? Well, yeah, you just you're 10 minutes from it no matter really where you're at in town. So just go do it.
That's great. Well, Devin, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for being on our podcast. Thank you for your leadership in SVN Purewest. For all the listeners out there who are interested in doing business as real estate investors or owners or tenants in Montana and are interested in getting in touch with you and learning more about our services, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, guys. Probably the best way is text or email or whatever, but text is 406-207-8200, MissoulaProperties@gmail.com, or Devin.K@svn.com. That's DEVIN. So I appreciate you guys having me on. Hopefully we have some good stuff, but I appreciate and look forward to working with you guys in the future. So
awesome. Thanks, Devin. Really appreciate it.
Take care.
See you guys. Thank you.
This show is for information and educational purposes only. It is not a solicitation to buy or sell real estate, securities, or any other investment. The views reflected in this show are solely those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of SVN Purewest, SVN Inc., or any other business or organization mentioned. If you'd like to contact the show's hosts, you can do so by email at Julian.Scurci@svn.com and Daniel.Miller@svn.com, or by visiting svnpurewestcre.com.